Hi there. Okay, so before I forget, while they're in the kitchen, forget, I just wanted to kind of talk on a couple topics before kind of jumping into the main one. In a way, they all kind of maybe connect too. And we got two people here instantly. Welcome. Um, I wanted to talk about when I came to do this on the news feed. It showed something about when people, immature people, are triggered, and I thought, and it was coming from somebody who called themselves a counselor, and I thought it was kind of odd language because I more so heard it, and both of you went, but whatever. I more so heard it as, and I hope they weren't thinking I was calling them that. I'll be right back. Um, but what I heard in that video title or whatever was more so, and hopefully it won't be interrupted by a call, was more so um, unhealed people get triggered. And I'm not judging, and I'm not saying I don't. So I mean, you know, emotionally, mentally triggered. Um, so it's not a matter of immaturity. It's just like when somebody's being silly and enjoying life. Some people call that immature. Maybe it's just being silly and enjoying life. But it's when you kind of your morals kind of get changed, and you are being impulsive in negative ways. That's where it's being immature, and then to get yourself in trouble. Um, now to the main topic. Oh, and the other thing I heard somebody saying recently, about how, oh, when you want to be faithful to your relationship, and you don't even want to look at anybody else, or flirt with or whatever with anybody else. I mean, this is coming from someone who's open poly, or at least open to it, open to open poly. But I don't feel like that means not faithful or unloyal. And I know that was a debate that the person involved, because it is just cute now. God, boy. So I'm just talking to our dog. Yeah, so I don't feel like it. I want people to understand that. I think maybe from a monogamous perspective, it seems that way, but and I'm hoping this. Yeah. Anyway, um, so I'm just gonna sit and get comfortable here. So when every day, essentially, this is perfect layout of things, and I have this. So when every day essentially just feels like a replay of the day before, and it's not even that you're moving backwards or that things are getting worse or falling apart. It's just that very little is progressing as you want or need it to with your goals and your purpose. When you're putting lots in, or trying to accumulate goals, um, or when you're putting a lot in or trying, we also, as we go about life, we tend to accumulate goals. And the longer we're working at things, when we aren't having much to show for it, whether that's weeks, months, years, it can be incredibly demoralizing. Has anyone not ever experienced this? I would think that might not be very likely. Um, and either way, I think the question maybe to ask is, uh, where are you stuck if you are experiencing it? But either way, what have you learned? We need things to give us motivation. We need a reason to get up and do what we're doing every day, whether that's in your career, working in your health, on your health, working on your relationships. there has to be something, uh, and most likely there is, and there always is, and we gotta cool. I don't think we're supposed to do that initially here, and sometimes it's a little bit delayed in the viewage. Yeah, that's a word. I think viewer coming in now. I got the live chat on, and also the thought that okay, there's uh, when we are kind of sometimes when we're trying to focus on a particular thing, we kind of get tugged in the opposite direction. I thought I had a note here. Um, yeah, okay. That most of us, especially during these periods of stagnation, are experiencing sometimes fairly strong internal tug of war. What are your thoughts on that? Um, we have somebody here, so I'll keep rolling. I flew through kind of what I had prepared quite quickly, but we can certainly have a conversation. And if you're left, you're like, well, then okay. um, and it was just I did the best with kind of the things I have open and that. But let me just see here. I wish I could pause and kind of prepare the next part. Like you say, I didn't expect to kind of go through that so quickly. Um, that spiel, whatever you want to call it. Um, and that's being very good again. Thankfully, not being too hyper. And then they have a reactionary step that takes them back in the opposite direction. Um, ending up, you know, it's not that you aren't moving; it's that you do this and believe yeah, it's just that sometimes things don't kind of come together as quickly as you would like, so you can fall backwards. Things can get confusing um, when trying to make something happen. um, got somebody viewing there, welcome. Where are you watching from in the world? I'm curious. Sorry, I'm just I'm operating off some rough notes here, but we can also talk in the chat. And I'm sorry if that was a. I mean, I shouldn't say anything. It could be any reason, as I often say, because I think it's an important reminder, as I say, for myself, for other content creators, and, you know, kind of as you're going through life in general, like to realize that we may experience something where we feel like something is personal, and maybe sometimes it is, you know, and we don't know for sure. And um and that's the thing, we don't, you know so it may not be, but I think it's good to kind of note that it may be, so that we can kind of tweak. I mean, the thing is, people that aim to please still can't please everybody, right? What has been your experience with that? Anyway. um uh Whoops, sorry. But I'm also just going to take an additional step here. Although I did Google and realize that I'm okay doing this, doing kind of using this method. Um, Whatever your life is today, whether you love it or hate it or are indifferent to it, you know what to expect for the most part. Not entirely, obviously, but everyone's life has, twists and turns. But whatever your life is right now has probably been that way for a long time, unless you've had major change recently in your life, in which case you probably the title of this video wasn't super appealing to you. So when your life has been consistent for a long period of time, something in your life has been, um, and you get good at navigating it. It says you may or may not feel like you're particularly skilled living your own life, but you practiced it. Like your days are very routine. It's okay. Like, okay, this is kind of the same. This is just like yesterday. Tomorrow will be the same, but with a little bit of difference. Um, you know, it depends on the person, but for the most part, it's the reason that it gets boring because you have kind of internalized and automated the decisions, the skills that go into getting you through the day. Um, there's a feeling of comfort that comes along with it. The mundane, but really, um, and I said it in the previous video actually that, and it's weird that I'd never thought of it before. That survival mode, it's very natural uh, that we all value that we want that you know certainty on some level because it tells us that we're safe, that we're not in you know struggling with situations, um, and navigating them. So even if you don't like it, there's always going to be this drive that you will have to fight against if you want to see real change in your life, to just keep everything the same. I'm also going to just quickly do this. Um, I mean, this even happened. Sorry. Um, Good point in the notes here, that it can happen in abusive relationships. We don't talk too much about that here. I not because I don't want you to be able to talk about it, and that I you know don't want you to be heard. I'm just not really sure that this is the best channel to that I'm the best person to help you, and that this would be the best channel to kind of talk about that kind of thing with. Uh, but something I was watching earlier made me think of it. So anytime you create or try to create real change in your life, it pulls you back to the center, pulls you back to the known, and it pulls you back to the familiar. Um, um, because we're always wanting to maintain and have that. So basically stating that when um, we sometimes go back into our comfort zones, and that's not necessarily wrong. And some people there, I mean, I think sometimes we should, and we know ourselves best, and we have to be, we have to, we can feel more comfortable and less anxious the more ready we are for a certain thing. The more, um, yeah, the more ready we are, the more confident and better we'll feel. Um, Now, uh, sorry, I have a bunch of things open, and I kind of just misplaced the. There we are. Kind of misplaced my spot in it too. Certainty versus excitement. Um, you know, and which one we're more strongly when we don't have the certainty, it's hard to have the excitement because we don't know what to feel. We don't know what to what may be, you know. And so yeah, it's basically I'm this one I'm doing a little bit different. I'm following some notes and also freestyle. And actually, I think that's good. It's a good balance. In the 15 minutes, I think there's been 3 or 4 years. I'm here. One's liked pretty quickly. Doesn't remember much, but yeah. Um, I like this phrase. Is kind of interesting. Well, I don't know if I like it, but it's interesting. Waking up and winging it. There's a song. Uh, may not be working real well. Let's try trying something different. Try to have the plan. Whether it's meal planning. As best as you can with what you're working with, um, to have nutrition. Um, and it does make me think of a certain someone. There's a few people, but I don't know their name. Um, and physical and mental health. Um, I almost lost my spot again. Um, Nobody's here right now. I appreciate your patience. When I really get, I'm just kind of trying to draw some key points. Boredom meeting, that's a topic perhaps. Feeling like you might be boring. And whether it's certainty, uncertainty, and excite excitedness, that we're still the same person, for the most part. Like there may have been a couple little changes here and there, but our life is basically in the same place as before either of those things happened. And I mean, like the thing on this weekend, or hopefully Friday, and possibly I think Sunday, actually. And it's kind of like I said it a little bit in the previous video. It's kind of like it could be really good. I hope it happens. But then it's just, I mean, sure, we could say it's attitude or whatever. But honestly, truly, because I don't see anything for sure lined up, and I know the struggles that there have been, and I know that it doesn't come as easy. Um, it's it feels fairly likely. And also, as I mentioned, the person that I'm connecting with is not going to be is not local, so it's not like they can refer me to others locally, and I can't afford to get other people here. I can't afford necessarily to go to them. So you know, um, um, nobody's watching at the moment. So, um, but yeah, both are important to look at, but for a lot of us, I feel like it's not just necessarily that we may feel isolated or not sure sometimes who to reach out to. as much as it's also we're just uncertain unsure on about our life and where it's going and what it will bring us or won't bring us. Um, you know, and that I do feel though that some people have more predictability in that. But honest and truly, we must remember, I don't want to make anybody anxious or whatever. Nothing is a guarantee. Life itself, um, employment, even if you have it, I mean, you know, um, it's, yeah, I think what's important is to look for areas within that are certain, that are, or try and see the certainty, try and see the positivity. Um, so, what efforts have you been taking in your life? I'm not saying you haven't, just because you may be in a certain, situation or spot in life, or as is actually kind of more the theme of this, not. But I think that it's good for all of us. And again, I said it in one of the videos recently. That there is maybe even in song form. I said it, um, that there's no shortage of people sharing their success stories, but the world needs more of that because it's inspiring, it's uplifting, right? Um, and I know a couple that have come up for me recently is that I'm doing this channel, I'm trying to do positive things. I've been getting back into doing music, like making it, writing it, and slowly but surely. And the person that they're like, I don't like positivity and I don't like music or writing. So I was kidding. Again, but it is kind of interesting to laugh it off sometimes. I mean, again, it's not necessarily that but either somebody came back or is back here. I am following some rough notes. Actually, just before you tuned in, and you're the only one here at the moment. Just before you tuned in, I was kind of a little bit. Oh, and you've left. So, but in case somebody's wondering what I was going to say that sees this afterwards, and it's only been 22 minutes. Wow, I did kind of briefly go off of them. Um, how do you get out of dysfunctional patterns? It's one of the hardest things, and to make a decision to have a sense of what direction you want your life to move in. You can't always just wing it. Um, you know, sometimes within reason, and after a bit of thought, I think it's kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna make an impulsive decision and see how it goes. To see if it improves my life. Um, but we're all geared towards the moments of pleasure and comfort. Um, we all are. That's the instinct that we have every day. So if you don't have a clear sense of direction, you're going to want to try and find those things more. And some ways or things are easier in bringing that than others. Um, we all got to be here for each other. As the viewer left, like, yeah, I'm going to go do that now. We all got to be here for each other, trying to bring that into each other's lives. Trying to help each other reach goals, um, and solve struggles as best as we can. I mean, it's again, it's not that it's about, it's not that it's finding a way to make it about, you know one person or the other involved in it, but it's it does often have a mutual benefit, and I think that is what I was talking about a little bit in the previous video, where it just feels like, and again, coming here helps, but only when I can see the impact. I mean, it helps me perhaps either way, but that's not enough because I'm always trying to do things to, or often trying to do things to kind of, you know, better me and stay, you know, positive and well. Um, but that's where the imbalance can come in when one is not able and wants to, and I think deep down we all do, not able to, whether it's a loved one, family, friend, or a stranger, to to help. Um, so regardless of things like religions, beliefs, or political, uh, the world can be difficult, and it doesn't seem like sometimes it it's very obvious, right? Um, Sorry, that was kind of notes from a video I was watching, and maybe it was, we're not talking necessarily about either of those two things. Although in a video I did yesterday, I did talk about how you can bring in religion into a conversation, and if you're watching, if you're on my channel, how I see that working best. Um, so um, can I get this a little bit more? Whoops. Yeah, maybe that's okay. It's a little bit squished, but if it's able to still record it and it plays back fine, I would imagine, then okay. Because I'm just trying to kind of. I could go upstairs and have the bigger screen and have the two screens anyway. And I mean, two is plenty. I understand. Anyway, but so one of the things that it mentioned, yeah, um, looking at my notes, is when you know you should feel anxious or dread when you DREAD, when you kind of just let things kind of happen as they happen, go with the flow. But yeah, you do have to do that in life. We all do. I don't think we should ignore that fact because that's not reality. But one thing I will say is that I feel like I've been doing it a lot more. I mean, as far as like the computer and different things, different tabs I have open and this and that, and things I want to keep open to look at with the other person in the home in the evening or whatever it is. I mean, I guess I've always been kind of um, winging it or whatever, kind of just here, there, everywhere kind of thing. But for some reason, it feels like I'm noticing it more lately. Like I don't know. It's like maybe what I used to experience was kind of like uncertainty around that, and kind of like um even if I didn't let myself take too long to make a decision, I it's weird. I feel like maybe I it was something that I was slower about, but then yet I feel like I'm slow about it, or I'm slow in a different way with it, with doing that kind of thing. And but you know what? There is a part of me that appreciates that kind of is like, I think one of the things that doing is like when there's just so much that we're seeing on the internet that different platforms are showing us. I mean, sure, we can like click watch later, open to look at later, whatever it is, but um, and we can never know sometimes for sure until we kind of look into things deeper. But it's and even like just kind of like with clutter, too, I'm noticing it. I'm kind of doing that. I'm still struggling in some ways, but I am doing that. Um, I really kind of do want to make that call today, and I two calls, and I'd actually been thinking about it um, for a particular reason, which I'm not entirely sure even what either would look like, but what the one would look like. But and I didn't know. I didn't know ahead of time, and I was kind of curious. And like Julia, sure, Hannah, yeah. Susan not local, but that would have been fine. There are definitely some I'd like to see. I'm trying to think. Who else? Steph. I can't remember about it recently. I know about Michelle. Something that would be, and I'll know if it's, you know, by what's said. If I because I haven't shared everything I've been through in my life on this channel. Maybe eventually I will. Just kidding. But so I'll know kind of by what's said. But it'd be interesting to be doing these videos sometimes and be familiar to somebody, like look and sound familiar, and be like, I think I know you. The person who was just there, it's like, no, you're not familiar. Reminds me actually, just the other day. It was called, and I think I had to do it in two parts, and I eventually did the song in the latter part of the video. Unfortunately, nobody's here for me to help pinpoint that. But it was the one called atypical. One of the parts of the inspiration of that is that somebody told me that, not on here, but that he's like, I know you, you're familiar. And if you'd seen me recently on YouTube, you probably would have remembered that. And again, I think I prefer to be approached on here. I don't go out. I mean, I do it. I don't. But But it's like, but and it's interesting because I'm often the one thinking that, and that's where it kind of came up. Was I thought that he kind of had a typical look, and so do I, and so we didn't know why he felt that. Maybe he's just like me, and he often does. You mind someone reminds you of someone, or you just kind of warm up to their vibe quickly, and they start to feel like familiar to you. I don't know what it is, but anyway. I mean, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes again. Yeah, I said that because said it in that way because what I read actually, ironically. Um, I'm just looking at something notes from this one video I was watching where when I actually stop and think about it, I have been asked this a couple times, and I mean a sensible answer to what would it feel like and look like to reach certain successes you're trying to reach. I mean, obviously good, but maybe let's talk a little bit deeper on that. Nobody's here right now, but let's talk a little bit deeper on that. And the concept of, I might prefer to say, acting as if you're there already doing it, um, or finding ways. Like, I started to watch that guy's channel that I was talking about the other day, and might be meeting this week, hopefully, if all goes well. Even though I know I had those feelings like, well, but how will I, how, what will my opportunities be like after that? And I mean, one thing I realized is he might not be wanting to kind of nail something down until he knows that he's arrived in the city from where he's coming, and maybe doesn't want to think about it too much. Maybe he is busy, um, related to and not related to this upcoming thing. But it's unfortunate because it's like I'm ready to kind of nail things down a bit better, and he's just not in the messages. So, um, but yeah, there's always kind of this trying to figure things out. No one ever will master it. Um, I feel you just gotta take your best shot at it. Um, Test things out, see what happens. But I will say that like if we were to bring back to about relationships of any type, any kind, really, actually, thing of the matter is that um, we can't judge one on another for the most part. Like, just because a certain relationship that might have similarities to another one. I mean, it's hard when there's interconnectedness and mutual connectedness, perhaps, but like I mean, like I say, any type of relationship, but I would say that this point is a bit more connected to, not that these are the same, but my first thought was dating relationships, but also kind of family relationships. Just because, but dating. I want to go back to the probably open thing for a moment, actually. Just because it doesn't work for you once doesn't mean that it won't. You just have to have the right people involved, and you learn things, and then you take those things and you know, not necessarily apply them or um, anticipate them in future, you know, um, similar connections, but you have gained knowledge. And we can so want something, and we can come very close to taking a step, but then not. Again, not judging that as normal. And you're always making progress or momentum or learning, you know. Um, and as you're doing things, you decide, does this feel right? Do I like it? Um, does it seem like it's getting better? Um, I feel like it might actually be, um, struggling more, or pay attention. So, like, if you don't get it right on the first try, that's okay. You can readjust and try. Um, Again, you probably won't get it right on the first try, whatever. But at the same time, try and you know, use your thinking skills a little bit, right? Um, There's a note from this video I was watching. That says the person I'm trying to be today is not the person I was trying to be 10 years or 20 years ago. It's true. I would even say a few days ago, necessarily. I don't know. Maybe. Um, you know, uh, it's always about assessment. Oh, nice. Um, we're all on this life journey together, one way or another. You're not going to cross paths with everybody, but you will meet a lot of people. And once you've identified at least somewhat of a sense of who do you want to be, what do you want to be more of, and try your best to keep that in your mind throughout your conscious decisions um, during your day. Try to um, with your goals and such. Um, and then kind of yeah, and making sure that what you're, whether strongly or at least I mean, I would say that most things to some level, but maybe not. But that that the things that you're digesting, including online, are things that align with your goals and align with your morals and you, um, because they're all you. Um, just some of these notes, you know, are not necessarily. I noted them, but I don't know if you want to avoid that stagnation, that life is going nowhere, feeling like you're just not just going to be able to make a few little decisions here and there and feel like a different person. Um, it's got to be consistent. And the more that you can put in your life, moving you to where you'd like to be, um, consistent, constant, conscious effort. Um, don't underestimate the amount of effort and consistency it will take. And this one may connect with the previous statement, but it's also very much its own, of course. To consider as many aspects as possible of your environment, whether your environment is supportive of you, your stated goals or values, or whether it's actually holding you back from that. Your environment is a really broad category, so there's going to be tons of things that get included into this. Too numerous to name, but just to give some examples, I mean, think about your physical environment. Are there things in your room, your home, your workplace are the things that, and I mean, I've had people say that actually. I've had people say, well, your environment affects, resembles your life, resembles your. I will say, in times of higher stress, it is a bit more disorganized. And it's not that you know, it's not that it's really ever, or at least most of my adult life, been a super strong suit of mine to be like a really organized person. And I'm free spirited. I'm ADHD, and I I can ignore it and also don't mind it to some extent. You know, you know, but everybody's different. Um, but um, so I'm not really sure how that one plays into my success, because it is in a lot of ways just who I am, and it's a big thing, and I've worked on it throughout the years, even there, and it's, yeah, it just seems to be who I am, and I don't really think that there's all that much connection correlation to that and my goals personally. Um, um, so I'm just looking at. I was kind of rambling for a bit there. I'm just looking at some notes that I'm, and you left. You're like you were, but now you're wrapping up. Okay, sayonara. um, or if you're trying to eat healthy, but every day at work they're putting out, not necessarily healthy snacks. Um, uh, there's nothing wrong with having the variety in what you eat, but if you're doing that every day, that's probably not the best. So that's going to move you further from your diet goals of improving your physical health, and also mental health to some degree. We want to make sure that the things that we want to do, the actions we want to engage in, that are consistent with the direction we're trying to take our life, um, as much as possible, with as few barriers as possible. At the end of the day, we're very subconscious, impulsive creatures. Um, or beings, if you prefer. Okay, yes, I was definitely past that. It bounced up. So, um, but what point was I at? Um, okay, a video started playing. There was uh, a thing that I just read here that when you're trying to get somewhere in life and become someone in life, and improve your life in ways that maybe you're not very familiar with experiencing, the feelings that come with that, right? Like, I welcome them for the most part, um, but let's go. We can skip ahead even if we're not playing. Kind of get there. Okay, this is close to where I left off. I accidentally bounced up quite a bit, but I was also kind of wondering if maybe there was something that still needed to be touched on further. Um, Now you can stay in a certain type of new territory, so to speak, even if it doesn't feel completely right, because that could be just the unfamiliarity of it, or the anxiety of it. What can you do to make it feel better? Is there someone that you need to ask the question of? Is there um, something that you need to change a perspective of, perhaps? Um, this would have been a really great video to have while live, had lots of people watching, because there are gaps. I mean, people get good at it, but some people may struggle with trying to write a comment and keep up with somebody talking. So this is a little less like my kind of usual videos, and sometimes it's just music, and I would love to kind of do one that's just the focus of too. Or I mean, and I have, but I often haven't. So I'd like to do more of that. You know, I think I've heard the phrase where words fail, music speaks. Well, if there's lyrics in the music, well, then it's speaking. But sometimes it kind of it carries a different it carries things differently, or it's a different feel than just saying things. And I almost wonder, and this is what I mean about kind of I can't. Let me just quickly look for a moment here. Let me just look up because I'm not sure if intentional is the, and there are some words that, okay, similar and opposite. What's an adjective again? um, Deliberate might be the word I'm looking for. Um, Thoughtfully might be the word I'm looking for, where you kind of, like I'm sitting here and I'm telling myself as I'm kind of nearing wrapping this up, maybe, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh, the thing I just said about music, which is something that I'm starting to let speak to me again, and that has always been pretty important to me. Going the opposite direction, and unfortunately, I don't think Mike's talking musically yet. I could be wrong, but I kind of feel like today might have been the first one you'd seen. Um, Person that I am today. Okay, so the person you want to be, are you doing things that move you in that direction? Um, yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. Like if someone is trying to drink less alcohol, but they own a mini fridge. I mean, we do, but we're not big drinkers. Um, before you realize, oh wait, I was trying to not drink so much, Um, I wish that I could have put some of what I'm kind of looking at here into a song, or just sang it, but hasn't felt meant to be yet. I thought maybe I was going to go with what was sitting in front of me. What it felt like is there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough to work with there, in that particular spot. But yeah, most of the day it's autopilot. No matter how motivated you are, making sure that the things you don't want to do don't feel so automatic. Um, and the people that were around having a tremendous influence on who and says who and what we are, but isn't who we are what we are? Isn't that already lyrics in a song? I'm not thinking, oh, we are. Try and stay away from toxic people. Try and stay away from people that on your wavelengths as much as possible. When you start feeling like the things you do actually matter to you and others, like you're actually for the first time in a long time getting closer to the goals that you've had for a long time, maybe even goals you gave up on. Um, does it get easier to get out of bed in the morning? So does it get easier to get out of bed in the morning? So I hope these tools, these thoughts will help you. And if you have a question, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. Um, do I feel like I need to summarize that at all? I don't know. This is exactly an hour in a couple minutes, so not quite exactly, but pretty close. I feel like the radio is playing a song, which might mute either some or all of this. So, but I couldn't tell if it was a commercial. Anywho, and the other thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to next. I want to see what the next tab is over here. I want to do some stuff in this window, but what I also want to do, maybe I'll even plug it into this one, is I want to look up something related to healthy eating and a specific difficulty that I have, um, because of being on the autism spectrum, essentially, and see what I find from it because I'm hungry and I need suggestions. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care.